Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Belle again. So today, we're going to talk about China and how Trump doesn't want reciprocal tariffs. A back and forth between Trump and China may lead to Trump imposing a more than 104% tariff on China. It started with Trump imposing a 34% tariff, and then China responded with a 34% tariff of its own. Trump then promised an additional 50% tariff. China, at time of recording, has not announced its response to the 50%, but has said it will, quote, fight to the end. Even if some don't want to admit it, it certainly appears that the two largest economies in the world are starting an all-out trade war. China's official statement said, quote, "The U.S. threat to escalate tariffs on China is a mistake on top of a mistake, and once again exposes the blackmailing nature of the U.S. China will never accept this. If the U.S. insists on its own way, China will fight to the end." We've been asked why we're devoting so much time to this subject. This is without a doubt the biggest news story right now. It's one that will shape all other news stories and has the power to alter the world, both at home and abroad, by as much as the collapse of the Soviet Union, or maybe even as much as World War II, depending on how long it lasts. Like any war, a trade war needs identifiable victory conditions. Without well-defined goals, the war will just drag on. And this is a major issue for the Trump administration. I've recorded a video illustrating that his own team doesn't even know what the goal is, but it keeps getting bumped back and may not be out yet. Still, there's a wider issue, that other countries don't know what the U.S. wants. Even if they wanted to surrender, they don't know how. As an example, Trump has said it's about tariffs, that the stated reason for Trump imposing what he's calling reciprocal tariffs. They aren't reciprocal, but since that's his stated position, his stated victory condition, other countries have tried to meet that demand. Both Vietnam and the EU have offered to remove tariffs. The EU reportedly did so before Trump even imposed his tariffs. The offer was rejected. Peter Navarro suggested the real issue with Vietnam was the intellectual property theft and the transshipment of Chinese products. Now, there is word of communication between the EU and China about dealing with the trade war. If that communication turns into cooperation, this could be a very long affair. Add into this growing sentiment that Trump has already caused a recession, and we have a recipe for drastic shifts in the economic situation. And that could cause a ripple effect throughout every other social, labor, defense, health, environmental, and foreign policy issue. It's worth noting that Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, talked about Trump's demand to lower interest rates and said, quote, "This notion that the Federal Reserve is going to ease 4 times this year, I see zero chance of that. I'm much more worried that we could have elevated inflation that's going to bring rates up much higher than they are today." That's right. One of the major companies that many believed would come out on top during this has a worried CEO. It's also worth mentioning that Fink also said, quote, "Most CEOs I talk to would say we are probably in a recession right now." Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.